Hi everyone, Patrick here. In today's video, I'll be doing a spoiler-free book review of Lightbringer by Pierce Brown. But before that, I just want to say first, today is September 1st. And that means, well, my booktube channel is now officially 3 years old. And I cannot say thank you really for all of you who keep on supporting my YouTube channel. And on top of my YouTube channel being 3 years old now, well, this also means that I have been doing a book review for 7 years. I know, it's crazy, yes. I started reading and reviewing books on Goodreads on September 1st, 2016, and now it's been 7 years. Absolutely crazy. I think in total almost 700 books reviewed. I think that will happen within this month, in September. But anyway, what's better to celebrate than doing a book review of Lightbringer by Pierce Brown, one of my most anticipated release of this year and also one of my favorite series of all time. And I think Lightbringer is a bloody damn near perfect space opera masterpiece. Can you hear that? That's the sound of blades producing the announcement of the arrival of Lightbringer as the biggest contender for the best book of 2023. Pierce Brown has done it. I have been a die-hard fan of the Red Rising Saga series by Pierce Brown for almost 7 years. My admiration and passion for the series has pushed me to willingly start reading the series again from the beginning in preparation for the arrival of Lightbringer, despite how busy I am. Lightbringer is the 6th and penultimate volume in the Red Rising Saga series, and although I have unbridled fondness for the series, I am not afraid to admit my favorite book in the entire series prior to the existence of Lightbringer has always been one of the books in the first trilogy. On my first read-through up to Dark Age, Golden Sun remained as my favorite of the entire series. On my second read, Morning Star received an escalation to my favorite instead. And I did have a blast in my second read of Iron Gold and Dark Age as well. Dark Age in particular received a significant reading experience upgrade for me. But now that I have read my most anticipated release of the year, Lightbringer, I can say with a shattered and mended heart that is filled with satisfaction and contentment that Lightbringer is my favorite book in the entire series so far. I have no idea how Pierce Brown can top this book in Red God. Lightbringer was just that sublime. Lightbringer begins 8 months after the end of Dark Age, and I strongly believe this is a return to the best of the first Red Rising trilogy while employing the expansive military space opera aspects of Iron Gold and Dark Age, and more. I have mentioned this in my review of Dark Age. For context, Dark Age is one of the darkest books I have ever read. Brown went all out on the gore, darkness, violence, and bleakness of the circumstance and threats Darrow and his friends face to mercilessly showcase the darkness and cruelty of war and violence. And Brown succeeded at this. There is nothing wrong with this direction. On my second read, I acknowledge this is a necessary and firm foothold needed to be established for Brown to bring the massive emotional reckonings and self-discovery in Lightbringer. But on that review of Dark Age, especially on my first read, without a sign of Lightbringer in sight back then, I felt Brown did not implement his most outstanding gift as a storyteller. That is to mix the themes of hope, friendship, love, and light into the chaos of destruction the characters encounter. This blend of chemistry made the first trilogy shine so brightly in many readers' hearts. Fortunately, as I said earlier, Brown brought that back in Lightbringer multiply without losing the epic scope he meticulously prepared in Iron Gold and Dark Age. As Brown himself said, Lightbringer is a book about journeying through darkness toward light, toward home. It is a book about war, loss, and hope. But most of all, it is a book about friendship and how the bonds we make with those we love are stronger than duty, blood, or chains. And Brown is firing on all cylinders here. Lux ex tenebris, light comes after darkness. Does it mean Lightbringer is less dark or less intense compared to Dark Age? Not really. I will argue the intensity has been heightened even further. There were many moments in the book where I felt like my heart was going to leap out of my throat. Part 1 out of 4 in the novel is relatively safe in tension and heartbreak. But remember, we are in the 6th book of 7 in the Red Rising saga. My emotional attachment, and I think the same notion can be felt by other howlers as well, toward the characters is real. Darrow and the surviving characters from the first trilogy are not simply fictional characters. Our affection and worries for them are genuine. A slight damage to them could mean a critical emotional hit for us readers. As we learned from the previous books in Red Rising Saga or many other science fiction and fantasy series, being a paragon of virtue and honor doesn't immortalize or guarantee peace. War portends death, hatred, and vengeance. To form a unity with an armor of love or to be indivisible and invincible could be tougher than waging vengeance. Especially when Darrow and the characters live in a dehumanized world ruled by a ruthless hierarchy where the rule of might make right is absolute. This is, among many other reasons, why Lightbringer is so bloody damn brilliant. The characters' work, characterizations, and development were masterfully written. My mind and heart swirled with fear, anxiety, love, happiness, and sorrow throughout every page. The sense of care I have for the main characters felt too much, and as I saw them constantly endure heavy adversities, it felt like I spiritually persisted with them too. I have read more than 600 novels since I read the first Red Rising trilogy for the first time. And the fact that I still regard the Brotherhood in Red Rising Saga to be one of, if not, the best portrayal of Brotherhood in fiction I have ever read is a testament to Brown's complex, mature, and layered plotting and character motivations. I did mention this at the beginning of this review. Lightbringer brings the series back to its core. In Iron Gold and Dark Age, Darrow is mostly separated from the main characters from the first trilogy. It is why I think there is a bit of a more mixed reception toward both Iron Gold and Dark Age, even if overall they were still super positive. But this separation does bring worthy and rewarding payoffs in Lightbringer. I'm trying to not mention the character's name here to make this review as spoiler-free as possible, but the theme of brotherhood exhibited in Lightbringer was so bloody damn good. I would consider myself blessed to be able to read more books with this level of believable friendship and brotherhood. With more responsibilities and the march of time, their friendship aren't as relatively simple as they were before in the first trilogy when they had fewer designated main missions and priorities. The brotherhood between Darrow and his brothers has obstructions, and they are bravely fought for, understood, and nurtured. Red Rising Saga is still my #1 favorite sci-fi series. It never feels like work to do a second read of the series from the beginning. And honestly speaking, I am glad I did that before reading Lightbringer. One of my favorite things about Lightbringer is how Pierce Brown totally made sure that crucial and pivotal events from the previous books do matter. They were established and reflected, and they exponentially enhanced the emotional value I have with the series. When you analyze the storyline and conflicts in Iron Gold up to Lightbringer, especially Lightbringer, you can see that many of them are the downfall and results of Darrow's actions in the first trilogy. And I am not only talking about the endgame in Morningstar, but to mention one, what Darrow decided to do in the Battle of Ilium has a lot of devastating repercussions that can still be felt in Lightbringer. I am so pleased with this storytelling decision. I also think more authors and storytellers should include snippets of recollections or flashbacks like Brown did here in Lightbringer. We readers have gone through the series from the beginning. In sequels or long series, characters' momentary reflections of the past and their journey can magnificently increase my emotional attachment to the characters and their struggle. As a result, for the first time in the series, after all the development, I can now say Darrow has become one of my top favorite main characters. This is new to me. Severo has always been my favorite character in Red Rising Saga, but Darrow is flawed and his character's arc and development throughout the series are phenomenal. In Lightbringer, I love reading how Darrow took a step back to observe the unforgettable sins of his past. The weight of his guilt was never neglected, and he took action upon them. It is all so incredible. Brown's multiple first-person narration was compelling and engaging, as always. There were many passages I highlighted because they resonated a lot with me. Although Darrow and Lysander's POV chapters have the most spotlights in Lightbringer, the book or series never felt like it was exclusively about them. It is about them, their loved ones, their beliefs, and the ruthless hierarchy of their world. And speaking of Lysander, let me say this, he is one of the most despicable and self-righteous characters I have read in speculative fiction. It takes something special to make me want to put my hand inside the pages of a book to strangle a character, and Lysander has achieved this in Lightbringer multiple times. I consider the Battle of Ilium in Morningstar one of the greatest space opera warfare sequences I have ever read. And of course, Lightbringer won't reach the critical acclaim it has without the prominent clash of conflicts evident throughout this series. Pierce Brown brought that back again. He features not only one, but two big battle sequences, and they were absolutely breathtaking. The brutality in the Battle of Phobos was rampant and terrifying. The tone was filled with grim menace, dread, and disorder. And then there is more. Clang, clang, clang. You might have seen those who read Lightbringers mention clang, clang, clang. This is the sound of flashing blades producing a superbly thrilling iconic duel that will be discussed by the Howlers for many years to come. Ashvar is hands down the finest duel scene in the entire series. It was pure energy crystallized by Brown's narrative. I am in awe. I don't know how Brown did it. The frantic bedlam and bloodshed he conjures never fails to transport me into his books easily. The free movement in the battle flow of the Breath of Stone was incredibly mesmerizing to me. My pulse pounded. I forgot I was reading a book. It was like a vortex of vivid wind has opened its invitation for readers to fly together with the howling lunatics following god killers in a hunt. I cannot say more than this. If you haven't read Lightbringer, you will know when you get there. The entire sequence was extremely well written. I swear any author would be gratified to pen a sequence of chapters reaching that superlative quality. Lightbringer is epic. Also, the three gorgeous maps on the front pages of Lightbringer, illustrated by Joel Daniel Phillips, help realize the ambitious scope of Brown's vision in Red Rising Saga, especially when you add the map that he did for Iron Gold and also Dark Age. Whether it's the cover art or the content, Lightbringer is the crowning glory of Red Rising Saga. This is an example of a marvelous book that reminds me why I love reading. The resonating themes of camaraderie, brotherhood, family, and hope were precisely combined with the grimness of the fine-tuned actions, sacrifice, and darkness. Lightbringer contains some of the most emotional scenes in the series so far, and believe me, it means a great deal, especially when you put how many hearts have been broken and repaired by the events in the series into the equation. Lightbringer is the best penultimate book I have ever read out of any series. By bringing Red Rising Saga and Lightbringer into existence, Pierce Brown has everlastingly carved his name into the archives of science fiction and fantasy history as one of the greatest sci-fi authors of all time. Now, only one book remains. It will be bittersweet to read the series to its completion. And I am not sure how Brown can exceed Lightbringer in Redguard, but if anyone can, it is Howler 1, per Aspera ad Astra. And that's it. That's really all my thoughts, as spoiler-free as possible, regarding Lightbringer by Pierce Brown. I think it is absolutely amazing, and as I said, this is a contender for the best book of 2023 for me. There is still 4 months before the year ends, so it is not set in stone yet, but the possibility is very high. If you have read Lightbringer, do let me know whether you consider this to be your favorite book in the series so far. And do you love Red Rising Saga as much as I do? And yeah, I think that's pretty much it for me today. And again, lastly, before I say goodbye here, till my next video anyway, I just want to say thank you so much really. It has been an awesome 7 years of reviewing books and 3 years of having a booktube channel. I will make some videos regarding my experience of reading and reviewing books for 7 years, and also my experience of having a booktube channel for 3 years on my YouTube channel soon. I hope some of you will watch that. I think I have quite a lot of things to say. But until then, once again, thank you so much for all your support. It means a lot to me. So much you have no idea. And as always, do let me know what you think about Lightbringer. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you for your support. Bye-bye. Lastly, I want to say thank you so much once again to all my patrons who keep on supporting me.